Welcome back to another episode on Junkie Fixes. Today we're going to be working on the old beater behind me here, the 2000 F250 with the 7.3 Power Stroke. I have quite the spread of parts here on this table in front of me. I have the new turbo up pipes, the pedestal that replaces the one that has the exhaust back pressure valve on it that's leaking. I have the complete seal kit to rebuild the turbo, the 7+7 wheel to upgrade the inlet side of the turbo. This is the collector for the up pipes. All the necessary hardware, also the plate that goes on the back of the turbo once we remove the exhaust back pressure valve, and all the intercooler boots and piping that will go on this truck to replace any of that rubber that may be worn out and possibly ever cause a boost leak. I've got quite the spread of tools. I had to borrow some from my dad for this one because it requires some spline drives on the turbo. We'll get into that later. But yeah, this is a project that I've been looking forward to for a while. I finally got all the parts in. So, you know, I wish I could do some like that movie magic, but I'm not there with you yet, and I could just act like I'm throwing everything at the truck and it just pop on there, but it doesn't. I've got quite the spread of stuff set up here for today. I'm going to be using my Earthquake Max 3/8 drive battery powered ratchet. I've got some wire brush wheels, some paint, because I'm also going to try and paint the spider part of the intake once I have it off. Plenty of brake cleaner to get everything cleaned up. This is the tool set I borrowed from my dad, just so I have the spline drives. Got plenty of towels. But yeah, this is all stuff that's just going to make this thing hopefully go easy. We're going to pull this pipe off here. This is what goes from your air box where the air filter is into the turbo. We're going to remove it. I guess it'd help if I put the battery in this thing, huh? Alright, much better now that I got the battery in it. Okay, loosen that one, and that one. This is where the pipes from the intercooler hooks to the intake. This is the spider part that I was talking about that we're going to paint. So I got each side of this has pipes that goes from the turbo down to the intercooler, and then runs through the intercooler and comes back up on this side, which feeds down into the top of the actual engine, into the cylinders. So I'm going to remove all that and I got to remove all these wires, remove the wastegate solenoid, and that way I can get down in there. I'll go ahead and loosen these 4 bolts. They take an 11mm deep well socket to get these 4 off. Make sure they're pretty loose here. That way it'll allow it to slide easy. I'm not going to loosen this clamp yet. This is what holds the turbo to this spider. I'm going to wait to do that one until I get some of this stuff unbolted. When possible, I like to run these bolts back in so that I don't lose them or mix them up with ones that may not go there. There are a couple wires we need to be cautious of. They go down to these solenoids. They look like starter solenoids for these older Fords, but actually they are the glow plug solenoids, and I believe the intake warmer, which is this right here, which actually heats the intake air as it goes into the engine on really cold days. It'll help warm that the air up in the intake. At some point I'm probably going to remove that. I've seen people do a lot of mods where they pull that one out because it's quite obstructive. It's a pretty big, like it's probably bigger than my thumb diameter that actually blocks inside of there. pedestal and where it sits on the truck. You can see here's the pedestal. This is the edge of the exhaust back pressure valve. The new pedestal deletes this. I've already got the little plug that puts the right resistance to the thing so it doesn't trip the service engine light. You can see here's the inlet side of the turbo. Here's the exhaust side that spool, so it spools from the exhaust pressure. A few more things that got to button up. You always got to make sure to cover these intake ports right here as soon as you can. That way dirt doesn't get down in here, because that leads straight into the cylinders. So you don't want to get that filled with crud. See, there is another clamp right here which hooks the downpipe to, for the exhaust to the outlet of the turbo. That clamp I got to pull loose. There are two bolts, one right here, kind of one on the other side. It's kind of difficult to see. And also, if you look back here towards the back, you'll see another clamp. That is where the up pipes meet the collector, and the collector mounts to this turbo. So the exhaust manifolds, as the exhaust pushes through the manifolds, it comes up through the up pipes, hooks in back there at the back of the turbo, which spins this turbine right here, which also has a rod that goes through to the turbine in there, so it therefore spins the intake on the intake side, which forces air into, down through the intercooler, comes back up, and it inevitably ends up in the engine at a lot higher rate, which gives you the boost. It's the compressed air. It's a forced induction system. Turbo on the work table here. It's a little bit easier to see how this all works with it off the truck. You can see right here, this thing's heavy too. Right here is where the air comes into the turbo from the air box. As the exhaust pushes the turbine on the back side, which you probably won't be able to see down in there because it's really dark. It's inside of here. It's another wheel with fins. The exhaust from the collector spins this turbine, which is a shaft that runs all the way through the middle to the turbine in here. Spins up, forces the air out through here, which shoves it down through the intercooler. It comes back out the other side of the intercooler, up to the intake and down into the engine, so that it can be used for combustion. As part of the delete, this whole valve right here, which is the exhaust back pressure valve right here, has to come off. So we've got to pull all these bolts out. That's where the spline drives are coming in handy right here. Because this new plate that I have in this package here will replace this, that completely removes this. I'll also be taking the turbo, separating it from the plate so I can replace all the seals, put the new wheel in there, the 7+7 wheel. And I'll be able to check out the wastegate as well and make sure everything's good in it. The shirt that I'm wearing in today's video is provided by Harmony Ridge Recovery Center. They're a comprehensive treatment facility in West Virginia. You can see here at the front it says, "Ask me about my recovery, I can help you." Feel free to reach out to me if you personally want to reach out to me. If I don't have the answer, I'm sure I could probably hook you up with someone who does. You can see they hooked me up actually with two shirts. The back is what has their name, and it also has their 844 Sober West Virginia. That's the number you need to call if you want to find out more about information on Harmony Ridge, or you can go to harmonyridgerecovery.com. First up are these bolts right here. They are 5/16 spline drive. So let's start busting these loose. Already broke this one loose on the test run. Four more of the spline drive. I believe they're 5/16. I don't want to push too much pressure on this. Ooh, these are tight. Maybe why people suggest using a light duty impact on this thing. I may have to do that. Okay. Okay, these bolts are out. Almost all the way out. Here. Okay. Here's one of the seals we'll be replacing as well. Here is the keeper and the first set of bearings for this shaft. This keeper slides off. You see it's kind of like a big C-clip. Okay. But you can see it's got the, in there it has little holes, which is ports for oil to go through and lubricate the bearing and this shaft as it spins. Okay, off camera I got the shaft out, put the new seal on it, and the new bearings. They go, let me see here, what did I just do with the old ones? They got the new seal, they go the bearing. You have a bearing that drops down on the shaft, then this sleeve, and then another bearing. And then you're able to reinsert it back up into this housing. And this will only line up one way. They're actually, these have a slight offset. And it's not that way. Okay, got those bearings, seals reassembled on there, and just stuck this all back down over the shaft, just like we pulled it apart. Snug these down little bits at a time. Okay, everything's still spinning good and smooth, quiet. Here, wipe this out. It's still a little dirty. Looks a little dirty, but it's as clean as it's going to get without like polishing it. It's time to slide this wheel on. You can see the difference here in the blades. This starts to thread on. And then the 5/8 on the front. Okay, I've got the new wheel on there, it's snugged down, spins free. It's time to I clean the housing out here for the outer part. It only goes in sort of one way. You just got to make sure that the wastegate rod lines up down on the wastegate side for the actuator. And gently set it on there. Still spins free. Put this on its side and check for play. Good and quiet, everything spins smooth. Okay. This is the new one that's going to sit down on here. There's not a gasket or anything that goes between it. Let's go ahead and get these bolts started. Could have swore this one came with new bolts, but I don't guess that it did. Use my ratchet here to buzz this down quicker. Just using that to just speed that part up, but not. It was right here. I'll go ahead and replace that. Really gonna have to invest in a little pick set for projects. There's one broke. Okay. These back ones are a little further back, but that's where this topside creeper really comes in handy. It's collected quite a bit of debris and nuts and bolts, I guess, from the previous owner whenever they were doing, and zip ties. Tons of zip ties in here, just laying. And you can see just that first handful, how much I've pulled out. Okay, so now you can see that hole back there. I was talking about the back of the valley. You can see where it meets, like where the bell housing meets the engine right there on that line. That's why there's a lot of common incorrect diagnosis on these trucks with the oil leaks that are under them. Because it's very common for these pedestals to leak oil, and they drip and run straight down through that hole and will come out the bottom of the bell housing area and cause a lot of people to think that the rear main seals on these are bad, when normally they aren't. I'm not saying that there's not possible for it to have a rear main go bad, because that's possible on any vehicle. But I'd say better than probably 85 to 90% of the time, it's actually this turbo pedestal leaking and not the rear main. Off camera, because with doing this one person, there was no way I could get some of the angles of replacing the up pipes on the truck. Let me step through here. We'll spin around and show you. Kind of see back there, I've got the new up pipe and the bellow. It's already installed. I've got it. I still have it loose down at the bottom, so that whenever I go to put the turbo back on, I can have wiggle room to get that V-band clamp still back on there. I do have the spider part of the intake over here on the floor. I'm getting ready to clean it up. I'm going to hit it with some brake cleaner, some wire brush, because I'm going to try and paint it while it's off. I'm just going to go with some sort of engine. I'm just using some engine paint that's made for high heat, and it's just going to be black, and just to help make that thing look a little better. forgot to pull that side off. That'd have been... It really fought me with the where the up pipes hook onto the back of the turbo. It was quite a struggle. I ended up having to have one of my buddies come up and help me push from the bottom. We unbolted the up pipes, and he was able to lift up, take some of the pressure off, so that I could lay across the top of the engine and get the collector housing lined up with the pin on the back of the turbo, and then got it snug right up. Tightened everything up at the bottom, good to go. It builds boost like it is. The new wheel in this thing, in the compressor, the whistle is just amazing. So much better than a factory turbo setup on that one. We took it out for a test run, runs great. So I'm completely happy with this. I'm glad to have this thing back on the road now, because it's been down for a little bit. But it's been a blast. But yeah, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because there's going to be more content coming. And just, I'm wore out, so I'm just all over the place on this video, guys. But just, there'll be more content coming with more projects with the truck behind me here. I'm probably going to actually find some of those LED headlights like you saw on my buddy's F-150. I'm going to find them for my little Ford Fiesta, and we're going to throw some of those in that one, because that's my daily driver. So there's more content to come. Punch out that like and here we go. Like and subscribe button, and follow for more content. Until then, see you next time on Junkie Fixes.